things. Interestingly, George, let's take a victory lap on one thing. Okay.
Oh, I love
We said on this show that the wide receiver market would be soft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been soft. Like Kenny Galladay's contract being 18 million APY and everybody throwing their hands up about it because Juju signed for 1 year, 8, and apparently turned down 2 of the best teams in the league to go back to Pittsburgh. Like, I feel like we nailed that.
The Kenny Golladay contract, it's so interesting because I read the spin zone on all of these things it's just incredible. You know, if the agent writes the tweet for whoever it is, it sounds like this person has just been made the king of England. And if, it's someone trying to talk about the cap sensibility or lack thereof, it's like this deal is horrendous. And so it's very interesting. Like the Trent Williams deal turns out to be basically a 3-year deal with then options on the back end. And the Kenny Golladay deal, it was like, I forget who it was that wrote this, but they were like, it's very similar to what Odell Beckham Jr. got when the cap was around this high. It was like 178. And I was like, okay, but there's a difference here. Like we understand that the cap is going to go up. There's this huge TV deal that's being announced. I think this says more about receivers that can be drafted that people expect to be very good. And I think a little bit about Kenny Golladay, don't you think?
What do you think about Kenny Golladay that you like that the Giants view him as a 1? Like a 1-1, like this guy is everything to everybody?
Well, no, I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say I think that that not enough teams viewed him in that way. And I'm not sure, I think he's a very, very good wide receiver. Like, where do you put him right now if you were ranking wide receivers? Where would you put Kenny Golladay?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fact that the Giants and the Bears were competing for him, tells you something because like they're teams that like I would say don't necessarily have it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the fact that there was more than one team willing to bid that price up to what it was, it means something. I'd more put him in that 15 range, I guess, 13, 15 for wide receivers. Obviously, I like separation more than I like jump ball ability because I think separation is a more stable trait. But at the same time, like, he's a physical guy and he can do a lot of good things. It's a big price though, and I just don't know with Daniel Jones and that offensive line whether that's going to be all that. Whether it's going to have the impact we think it does. And I think the same thing for Smith-Schuster. I think Smith-Schuster is going to look back at his contract with the Steelers and be a little bit upset about it because especially Kansas City just seemed like that's a slam dunk. You're getting all the Sammy Watkins stuff underneath. You might get a little bit of stuff over the top. And now like you're going to Pittsburgh where Big Ben's just trying to get rid of it in 2.17.
I was shocked by that. I was shocked. I honestly, this is probably not the reason, but when I heard took a huge pay cut to stay with Pittsburgh, I was like, yeah, bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. That's complete and utter horse crap. There's no way anyone is taking a huge pay cut to stay in Pittsburgh. I've been to Pittsburgh, lovely place, wonderful, wonderful town, great people. Our own Ben Lindsay from Pittsburgh.
There's a joke in there that we just can't say though.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I came close. Couldn't go all the way, but that's complete crap. I thought I would have gone to Baltimore. And I think I got to be honest with you. I think one of the reasons Juju didn't go to Baltimore is because he'd have to play Pittsburgh twice a year. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I honestly think they would have turned on him so quickly. And that poor guy would have been decapitated going over the middle of the field, to get his 4-yard slant for his 8th catch of the game for 32 yards. And it would not have been pretty. Why he didn't go to Kansas City, I have absolutely no idea. If I were a receiver, I would have been praying to go to Kansas City for a year. Like praying.
Well, and now you look and like they're clearly looking for sort of like there's a type, right? I threw out the names of T.Y. Hilton.
Who do you think? Yeah, give me your guys.
I think it's going to be a bigger guy. I think it's going to be like somebody like Josh Reynolds. Ultimately, like
really
a guy who's like 6'3", 190. I've been doing a little research on this. Runs faster on the field than his 40 time would suggest. Like guys like that who are of value, right? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit with Tyus Bowser with a signing too, where there are some guys who, like, we found this out, and I think kudos to Brad for saying this a few weeks ago and using it as research this summer. Draft stock and priors dragged along with all of these players this week.
Leonard Floyd?
I think, like, so for Kansas City, like, they're a smallish team on offense. Edwards-Helaire is small. Kelsey's a small tight end, like, physically. Hill, Hardman, even Watkins to be that big receiver is small. I think they're looking for size, and that's why I think they wanted Smith-Schuster. I think they bypass guys like Hilton, Adam Humphries, guys like that. I think that they're going to go more of a more physical guy, or maybe just a number 2 tight end who can get scores. Like, I think Darren Fells, by the way, Darren Fells is the 6th highest graded player in the red zone over the last 2 years. It's like 14-17 with 10 touchdowns. I think they go more that direction. Juju would have fit in really nicely with them, but unfortunately, like, it's crazy, but, like, I don't think he had much of a market, but then he chooses it. Like, he kind of just, like, went on tilt and back to Pittsburgh. It's weird.
Did you see the comment where he was like, yeah, I love Sam Darnold. I'd love to see Sam Darnold in Pittsburgh. I mean, I love Big Ben, but, it'll be interesting to see who the next quarterback is, because it ain't going to be as good as what he was going to have in Kansas City, and probably not as good as what he'd have in Baltimore either. Like, obviously Lamar Jackson is great, but just throwing.
Baltimore having a wide receiver who could take passes in that like short range and turn them into 8-9 yard gains is really what they need, right? The weird thing about the Ravens is they don't have a robust passing game to the running backs, right? Even though they have talented running backs, their tight end is more. Their tight ends aren't even like short receivers. Their tight ends are sort of middle of the field, high ADOT guys, and obviously they have Hollywood going over the top with kind of like mediocre hands underneath. Like, the Juju would have fit in well with them too. Like, it's an unreal projection on Juju's part. He must know something about he must like Dwayne Haskins.
No comment. I do want to take so the Kenny Golladay stuff. We talked about the NFC East last week, and I'm still all aboard on the Washington football team at 3-1. The Cowboys are plus 100, Eagles plus 425. The Giants still behind the Eagles somehow at plus 500. And I don't think, Kenny Golladay is moving that number a ton. I will say this. I think it is kind of absurd that the Giants have longer odds than the Eagles.
You mean like they have a lower probability to win the NFC?
Yeah, they're plus 500. The Eagles are plus 425.
The Eagles are a tank, man. The Eagles, like, the Eagles will not like they by the way got a great signing this weekend or Friday. Yes, I can't remember when Anthony I was doing the Sirius show, but they got Anthony Harris. It's a great signing for them.
Yeah.
But they're not in any position. I mean, and nor do they want to be, right? Like, I can't. I would take the Giants in a win total like prop over the Eagles.
Yes,
quite a bit, just because of the incentives. Like, the Giants at this point, Joe Judge has a bigger incentive to win games than
say what you want about Joe Judge. Say what you want about Joe Judge, and we may laugh at what he says in press conferences. It's still better than whatever the heck the Eagles are putting out there. I will also say this. People got very mad at me. I said, look, I would bet the football team 3-1. In fact, I think if I had to pick between them and the Cowboys right now, I'd pick them. And I mentioned that Fitzpatrick is a pretty darn good quarterback, to put in there. And I looked this up, man. Like, he has as many top 10 graded seasons as Dak does over the last 3 years. Their grades are actually very similar. Now, I would rather have Dak. I think Dak is on the upward swing. I completely agree. I'd rather have Dak, right? But my point was simply that was a really good team that had horrible quarterback play. And Fitzpatrick has played pretty darn well. He's been in that 10 to 15 range over the past 3 seasons and has been on some really bad teams. And this team will be a little bit better. But that division is still interesting.